On this play, Matthew picks up the puck on the left half wall on the power play. Nylander then sets up net front, which forces the defense to collapse on the net. They would still commit a man to taking away Matthew's shot lane. Matthews passes the puck to Marner, and because Tavares sneaks backdoor, the defense knows Matthews is open, and instead chooses to allow their goalie to go one-on-one with Matthews. Bingo bango, back of the net.
Marner back to Matthews, fire, scores! Austin Matthews!
I like this play from Matthews, drives to the front of the net, which forces the defense to collapse on him. Matthew Nysen takes his spot net front, where Matthews sneaks out of coverage. This would confuse the defense, where he now has a wide open shooting lane with a double screen.
Brody, Matthews up high, he'll let it fly, scores! Tipped in front, looks like nice!
On this next play, we see Matthews run the puck to an open McCabe, who aggressively picks up the puck from the blue line. Keep in mind, Matthews was covering McCabe on the blue line, and the Rangers know this, so they don't expect him to be aggressive. Where he sneaks behind the Rangers' coverage in their blind spot, gets open for a moment, and boom, back of the net. On this play, Matthews snipes from an impossible angle.
Has a look, feeds across to Matthews, taps it back and shoots, goal!
On this play, Matthews absorbs body contact,
As Marner counters it up, throws it back in front for Matthews!
and with patience and poise, gets the puck on his backhand and scores. But okay, Rob, what's the point here? We get it. Well, the regular season Matthews is arguably the greatest goal scorer of all time. All the examples I've shown so far highlight how dynamic the man is at scoring goals. From distance and close one-timers, he has the ability to create his own space. He has the ability to manipulate the opposing defense, using their blind spots to sneak into open ice. There is a reason to why at the age of 27, Matthews has 3 Rocket Richard trophies for leading the league in goals, 2 MVP trophies in the Hart and Ted Lindsay. Like seriously, the man is on track to surpass Ovechkin. Ovechkin just broke what was thought to be an unbreakable goal-scoring record set by Gretzky, and Austin Matthews is right there. Yes, I get that Matthews' ongoing injury concerns will prevent him from ever getting to Ovi, but the fact that Matthews is even on par, if not surpassing Ovechkin at the same point in his career, is astonishing. However, when it comes to playoff time, I don't think I've ever witnessed a bigger playoff choker in my life. As I just showed, Matthews isn't a Patrick Laine, where he relies on his teammates finding him in open shooting spots. What makes Matthews so special is that not only is he a one-timer option, but he has the ability to break down the opposing defense and create his own goals. That's why the man had a 69-goal season. He can score in every conceivable way. So it then begs the question, when his team has needed him more than any other time in his career, how in the hell has he been held goalless? Because after looking into the numbers, I would discover something shocking. And today's video is sponsored by SeatGeek. After one of the most historic seasons of the last decade, Ovechkin breaking Gretzky's goal-scoring record, Crosby setting a record for the most point-per-game seasons in NHL history, 4 nations face off putting the NHL on the front page of the sports world, ladies and gentlemen, we are now in playoffs. So there's no better time to pick up some tickets with SeatGeek, where I can find lower bowl tickets to an Oilers-Kings playoff matchup for $183. Some of the best hockey you will ever witness. Invaluable experiences for $183. Even if you've used SeatGeek in the past, if you download the app today or click the link down below using code RobTalksHockey10, you'll receive 10% off any tickets, whether it's the NHL, NBA, MLB, concerts. So thank you so much to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video. What's actually interesting is that Toronto has ran a 5-forward power play, with Matthews on the right and Nylander on the left. However, throughout this entire series against Florida, Matthews has been utilized for spacing rather than his goal scoring, but this spacing has forced the Florida PK into having to play honest and not cheat towards a single side, which can lead to the Leafs utilizing net front screens, indoor tips to score. And this is fine. In fact, this is needed. If you're not going to score for a game or games in the playoffs, the fact that you can manipulate the other team when you never touch the puck is invaluable. But that does not mean your team can afford for you to take a series off. In Game 4, down a goal in the power play, we can see how the Leafs are negatively impacted from not having a lethal point shot, as Matthews picks up the puck on the right half wall, and the Panthers are able to send 2 defenders toward him to take away any shot or passing lane, as Brad Marchand is not losing too much sleep about leaving Marner wide open at the point, where he instead opts to take away Tavares' shot lane, which then forces Matthews to take a shot at a bad angle.
Proves a shooting angle and that's kicked away.
If Toronto has a lethal point shot, Marchand can't cheat towards Tavares, and this defender now has to choose between giving Matthews more space or a one-timer in close. Just take a look at how the Panthers defense is reacting to Marner. Not one of them is pressing Marner's shot lane, as they're instead taking away his pass, which forces him to skate for open ice. and by the time Matthews gets ready for a shot, there are 4 bodies in front of the net, meaning it's most likely going to get blocked, where he misses. Somehow, one of the most well-rounded goal scorers the game has ever seen has become so predictable in the playoffs, as good teams know what they're going to do or trying to set up and shut him down with ease. And you can say, well, Matthews is dealing with a lingering injury, which he is. But we have seen the same thing for 9 years now. 9 years. Think about the optics here. Evan Bouchard in the past 3 years has nearly outproduced Matthews' 9-year playoff career. Matthew Knies has just as many goals as Matthews in the last 3 years. Knies is a sophomore and is outperforming someone who's supposed to be the greatest goal scorer in league history. Matthews makes over 12 million more than Knies. Think about this for a second. Matthews throughout his entire career is scoring at a 0.64 goals per game average in the regular season. Ovechkin has scored at a 0.6 goal per game average. Yes, Ovechkin sees a slight decrease to 0.48 due to teams putting all their defensive efforts into taking away his shot, but Matthews has fallen to a 0.37, a massive decrease from his regular season totals. Matthews in his 10 career games in the second round hasn't scored a single goal, but okay. He's still putting up some points, but he's gone from a 1.16 career regular season point per game average to a 0.88 in the playoffs. Compare that to McDavid, where the man's totals have increased across the board against the toughest competition. Well, Rob, you can't compare him against McDavid. Matthews won the MVP over McDavid and makes more money. You can definitely make the comparison. When Matthews scored 69 goals, there were a lot of fans who said he deserved the MVP over McDavid's 153-point season. As Toronto would take a commanding 2-0 lead against the Panthers, they were up in Game 3, where they had no star power. Toronto had a deal lined up for Mikko Rantanen for Mitch Marner. Rantanen has more goals in this single playoff run than Mitch Marner has in the last 6 years. You can't make this stuff up. And you know what? Matthews is still a good player, but in these scenarios, you need depth scorers to compensate. This is fine, but what's not fine is when you demand one of the biggest contracts in NHL history, which then means your team doesn't have the cap space to sign depth. He couldn't even give the Leafs 8 years. No, he wanted a partial bridge deal to get an even bigger payday. At some point as a player, you can throw your fans a bone and take even a small discount, because at the end of your career, I think winning a cup is more valuable than making a couple extra million on top of getting trash from the entire hockey world. I don't know. Yeah, a couple extra million sounds like a lot. The man is gonna make far more than 50 million? Like seriously, think about it like this. Would you rather make 100K in a job that you absolutely hate, or 90K in a job you love? I guess it depends on the person. But the fact that if they keep Marner, they may have to give him a raise is mind-blowing, as this is hands down the best Leafs team we've seen since he came to Toronto. More specifically, the best decor. And the stars aren't showing up. We are witnessing one of the biggest choke artists the game has ever seen. You want McDavid, Draisaitl money? Perform like them? Or take a bit of a deal to respect your passionate fans who've been let down for the past 60 years? So with that being said, what are the Leafs' plans now? Do they really have to walk away from Marner and hope to get Tavares on discount? Because the structure of this team has been a complete and utter nightmare. I'd really appreciate a like on this video. A big shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.